All right, today we're going to dive into something that's quietly but powerfully shaping the future of Nepal's development, and that's the workplace. It's where talent is either grown or, well, totally squandered. And the health of these places, it has a massive impact on the entire nation. This quote right here, it just hits the nail on the head, doesn't it? It gets right to the heart of the matter. It's a feeling I think so many of us know. That sense of dread when your motivation is just completely gone, all because the environment itself feels, well, broken. So just take a second here. Does that sound familiar? Have you ever felt that way? Or maybe you've seen colleagues just going through it. See, this isn't some abstract problem we're talking about. It is a daily reality for so many people. And that's exactly what we're going to unpack today. Okay, let's get into the diagnosis here. This isn't just about having a few bad days at the office. No, we're talking about a full-blown crisis, a toxic culture that has really dug its roots deep into many of Nepal's organizations, both governmental and non-governmental. So what are the common symptoms? Well, you've got despair and insecurity, unfair promotions, zero transparency. And what's really fascinating here is how all these things feed off of each other. It's a vicious cycle, right? Authoritarian leaders and secrecy, that's the perfect breeding ground for gossip and politics. And when promotions feel rigged and people are stealing credit for your work, of course you're going to feel insecure and hopeless. These aren't separate problems. They're all tangled up in one failing system. So you might be thinking, okay, office drama, why does this matter so much? Well, because the ripple effect goes way, way beyond the office walls. This isn't just about one person being unhappy at their desk. This is about the progress of an entire nation. And this chart, it just lays out the stakes perfectly. When these toxic workplaces become the standard, what happens? Your best, most skilled people, they leave. That's the brain drain we hear so much about. And that vacuum, it gets filled with corruption. And the result of all that? National development just stalls. So the takeaway here is huge. Fixing our workplaces isn't just a nice idea, it's a matter of national importance. So where do we even start with a problem this big, this deep-rooted? Well, to find a solution, first we have to understand the why. And for that, the source material points us to a really classic but powerful psychological framework. And that framework is Abraham Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Now, I know this might sound like something from a Psych 101 class, but trust me, it's an incredibly powerful tool for understanding what drives us. The whole idea is actually pretty simple. You can't expect someone to be this brilliant, creative, innovative employee if their most basic fundamental needs aren't even being met. So let's break down this pyramid. At the very bottom, you've got the basics, like salary. Makes sense. But look what's right on top of that. Safety. Job security. If your team is constantly worried about getting fired, forget it. You've already lost them. And then you build up to social belonging, feeling like part of a team. And then esteem, which is all about being respected and recognized for your work. It's only when all of those layers are solid that you can expect people to hit that peak, self-actualization, where the real growth and creativity happens. A toxic workplace, it just rips these fundamental needs to shreds. Okay, so we've diagnosed the problem, we understand the psychology behind it, so now let's talk about the good stuff, the blueprint for change. It's time to get into the solutions. What does a thriving workplace actually look like? I mean, this comparison says it all, doesn't it? On one side, you have the toxic culture, secrecy, politics, blame, everything that just grinds progress to a halt. And on the other side, the positive culture, transparency, fairness, collaboration. That is the path forward. This is the transformation we're aiming for. And it all starts with two core ideas, communication and trust. So first up, you have to build a culture of feedback. And you know what that really means? It means you have to actually listen. Simple as that. When you create a space where people feel genuinely heard, where their ideas are valued, man, that builds incredible loyalty. And being sensitive to what's going on in their lives, that's not a weakness. That's how you build a real team, a team that feels truly connected to the mission. And that culture of listening, it gets supercharged by the next pillar, radical transparency. Think about it. Secrecy just creates suspicion every single time. The only cure for that is open communication, clear policies, including people in the big decisions. When everyone understands why things are happening, trust just naturally pushes out all the gossip and negativity. The whole system just gets healthier. Okay, so once you've got that foundation of trust, you can start building on it with the really human stuff, the day-to-day things that make people feel valued. And that brings us to celebrating small wins. Seriously, never, ever underestimate the power of appreciation. A simple thank you, hey, good job on that. It's not just a nice little thing to say. A consistent culture of recognition is like a battery charger for motivation. It makes people feel seen. And that daily recognition gets backed up by an even deeper commitment: investing in people's growth. When you offer training, workshops, real opportunities to develop their skills, you're sending a powerful message. You're saying, we care about your future, not just what you can do for us today. And that's how you not only keep your best people, but you raise the game for the entire organization. And these last few pillars, they're really what ties this whole thing together. Psychological safety, and that's not just a buzzword. It's the absolute foundation that lets people speak up and be creative. Making work fun, making sure opportunities are fair for everyone, these aren't just lines in a handbook. They're proof that you actually respect people. And letting employees have a real say in decisions, that's the ultimate sign of respect. Put it all together, and that's your thriving workplace. So, what's the ultimate payoff? What happens when a company or an organization actually commits to all of this? Well, it's not just about having a happier staff. It's something much, much bigger. And this right here is the main takeaway from our whole explainer today. A positive, inspiring, and inclusive work culture, it's not a nice to have, it is the engine. The engine that drives innovation, that keeps your best people, and ultimately that builds a stronger, more stable nation. The change really does start from the inside. So I'll leave you with this one last question. When you really look at the cost of brain drain, of corruption, of stalled progress, it makes you wonder, is building a positive culture really an expense? Or is it maybe the single most important investment we can possibly make in our future?